Journey to the Center of the Word with your host, Michael Rood. Leave your inherited traditions behind and venture back in time with us as we explore the Scriptures in the original context of the land, culture, and language of ancient Israel. This is the paradigm shift for which you've been waiting an entire lifetime. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Rood.
Signs in the heavens and the revelation from heaven. It is now during the Feast of Unleavened Bread that we had the first of 4 lunar eclipses that is going to be occurring this year, of course, during the Feast of Unleavened Bread and during the Feast of Tabernacles, or the Feast of Sukkot in the fall. And then again next Passover, and then again at the next feast in the fall, which again is Sukkot. It was just a little over a week ago that Mars was in closest proximity to Earth in conjunction with the Earth and Sun. And it tells us in Genesis in 1:14, God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, for days and for years." The Creator put the sun, the moon, the stars, and the planets in their courses, and they were put there for signs in the heavens. And it is only if heaven lets us know what these signs are that we know what these signs are in advance. And we also see that historically that there have been signs in the heavens that have heralded different significant events in the course of the human race. Now, these lunar eclipses that are taking place have been often misnamed blood moons. They are not blood moons. The terminology blood moon is used in the Scripture. It's used in reference in the book of Revelation. It's also found in the Gospels in which Yeshua uses it. It's also in the book of Acts, and every time it refers back to a very specific verse, a very specific prophecy in the book of Joel. And in the book of Joel, we see that this, when the moon is turned to blood, it is an atmospheric event. It is not an eclipse that transpires. And so to equate these as blood moons is misleading people, is taking them off the track of what these things are actually here to tell us about. And it is only that I really have an issue with. People want to call them blood moons. You know, it sounds clever, but it's not what these are. Because when you have the sky darkened, when the stars are darkened, when the sun does not give its light and the moon is turned into blood, that is not an astronomical event. That is an atmospheric event. That is something that's transpiring upon the planet. But yet, the Creator says that He is putting the sun, the moon, the planets in their courses, and they are for signs in the heavens and for seasons. The word seasons in Hebrew is moedim, which is the feast of the Lord. These are His kadosh mikra. His kadosh are holy rehearsals. That's what His feasts are. They are rehearsals of good things that have happened in the past, such as Passover. When we celebrate Passover, we remember a good thing that happened in the past. We came out of Egypt. But we were not allowed to know, nor could it be uttered until the spring feasts were fulfilled, that each one of the feasts of the Lord were prophetic shadow pictures of good things to come. Because if Satan would have known that his execution of the Messiah would result in our redemption, Shaul tells us, Paul tells us, that Satan never would have crucified the Lord of glory. If he would have known that act was what was going to purchase our redemption, that the death of the innocent would pay the death penalty for the guilty party, and that's what we are. We are the guilty party. All of Israel, the guilty party who broke the blood covenant at Mount Sinai, and the only remedy for breaking the blood covenant is the death of the offending party. unless someone who never breaks the covenant dies in the place of the guilty party, and then that one who dies in the place as an innocent one, when his innocent blood is shed, he then can renew the covenant with the once guilty party because they have been given his innocence. The death penalty has been paid. That is what the blood is all about. This is what the picture of Passover is all about, the substitution of the lamb for the guilty party. That's why John the Baptist, Yohanan ben Zechariah, even though he heard from heaven the voice that said, "This is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased," he did not proclaim Yeshua as the Son of God when he came out of the wilderness 41 days later. He said, "Behold the Lamb," because Yeshua is taking the place of the Lamb, which was a symbol of taking the place, the substitute for the guilty party. Each one of these feasts of the Lord are prophetic shadow pictures of good things to come, and he put these signs in the heavens, and to have the signs in the heavens at the same time of his Kadosh Mikra, his holy rehearsals, these shadow pictures of good things to come, good things that have happened in the past, this is indeed significant. And so we have to ask, and this is what I've been praying for months now, is what is heaven saying? And then I heard, what has heaven said? What has heaven already said? It was in 1999 in which I began declaring the signs in the heavens and what was going on with, first of all, with Hale-Bopp, which is the most viewed comet that has ever been in the history of the human race. More people saw Hale-Bopp, this magnificent comet, and I detailed it in The Great Secret of Solomon's Temple and exactly what tale this comet's tail was telling as it went through the heavens, and exactly what constellations, as this was a prophetic shadow picture. And it was at that time, that was the very year that the detail concerning the Ark of the Covenant was revealed. And the Almighty sent me on that. But I'm going to take you back a little bit further, ladies and gentlemen, because the reason why I do what I do is because I was called by heaven at a particular moment in time, and I know exactly where it happened. I know when it happened. I know every detail. I still live it and breathe it to this very day. And to give you the short version of it, I was down in Texas, just picking up a load to take to I didn't know where, turned out to be Houston. And a truck driver pulled in. He got out of the truck, he saw me, and he said, "You have changed my life." And it turned the message that I had for him turned his life completely around. And then he said, "I've been praying for you, and the Lord told me that you are not going to be with us very long." And when I said that, it's like, what? You know, I thought I would always drive a truck. You know, I'd been doing it for a year. I thought I'd do it the rest of my life because I loved it, because of the divine appointments that happened. When he told me that, I then got to Houston, a short run. I got there, picked up a load to go to Canada. And going down the road, many of you have heard me tell this story before. I'm going down the road. The sun is setting. It's just about the Sabbath day. And I know that I can shut the truck down and I may be able to make it on time. And I'm praying for a sign from heaven. I said, "Show me if I'm to shut the truck down on the Sabbath. And if so, you have to tell me. You have to tell me right now." Right then, up on my screen, the computer screen on the dash said, "Monday, Victoria Day in Canada. You can't deliver the load till Tuesday." Right there is an exit for a rest area. I hit the brakes, pull over, and I know that this moment is a divine appointment for me. The next morning I get out and I open up my Bible. I put it on a concrete picnic table there, and it just flops open to 2 Thessalonians. And as soon as it opens up to 2 Thessalonians, I've got more notes in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 than any other book. I mean, it's just completely covered, the whole thing. And I sit down there and I say, Lord, I know how I've been handling this, but I don't feel comfortable with it. I know that you know what you told Paul to write. And if you will, you can show it to me. Ladies and gentlemen, 20 years as a paid professional false prophet, an ultra-dispensational, pre-tribulation, secret rapturist, replacement theologian extraordinaire, it fell apart right there. I have been preaching the pre-tribulation rapture and believing it my whole life, and right there I was shown right from heaven that day, and I knew there was no pre-tribulation rapture. And the scriptures that I was using and twisting in order to try to produce a pre-tribulation rapture, because that was what was ordained by my denomination, fell apart right there. And I knew that if I opened my mouth, I would lose all of my friends. I knew it would be over. But I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, thus saith Yahovah, there is no pre-tribulation rapture. And when that came to me, and then it was confirmed by a prophet that I traveled 1,000 miles in one night to get to him, and he said, the Lord wants me to pray for you. And he did, and he prophesied the very words I heard from heaven, and I knew that this 2 weeks of weeping that I had to open my mouth. And when I did, guess what? I lost every friend that I had. But that is when it all began, ladies and gentlemen. In Matthew 24, Yeshua said to 3 of his disciples, when you read the chronological Gospels, you find out exactly what 3 disciples they were, what their names were, that he took up on the side of the Mount of Olives after storming off the Temple Mount, the 23rd chapter of Matthew, with tens of thousands of people. When he stormed off the Temple Mount and said, you're not going to see me again until you say, Baruch haba b'shem Yahovah. He stormed off the temple, and he told his disciples, take a look at these buildings. You think they're great? There's not going to be one stone left on top of another. They're all coming down. They went all the way to the Mount of Olives, and then they sat down. They said, Master, when is this going to happen? What is the sign of your coming in the end of the age? And he said, take heed that no man deceive you. For many are going to come in my name, saying I'm Messiah, yet they will deceive many. You're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars. All these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Nation is going to rise up against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There is going to be famine, pestilence, earthquakes in many places. All of these are the beginning of sorrows. Then they are going to deliver you up to be afflicted. They're going to kill you. You're going to be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then many are going to be offended, scandalizo, caught in a snare. He's talking about believers who are going to be scandalizo, or caught in a snare that they are going to be completely unaware of. And they shall betray each other and shall hate one another. This is talking about believers, ladies and gentlemen. That's who Yeshua is talking to, his disciples. He's talking about their progeny, what's going to be happening when the earth and when it begins to shake and all these things start to come down. They're going to hate and betray each other to death. Take a look to your left, take a look to your right. These are the people that are going to hate and betray you to death. So give them a hug. Say, I'm not going to take it personally, but I wish you wouldn't be so weak. Many false prophets shall arise, pseudo-propheticos, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure to the end shall be sozo, rescued, saved. And this gospel of the kingdom, this gospel, the one he was preaching, not the sloppy agape, greasy grace, But this gospel of the kingdom must be preached in all the world for a witness in all the nations, and then shall the end come. Then, excuse me, I mispunctuated it because I was thinking King James. This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all nations, period. Then the end shall come when you see the abomination of desolation spoken by the prophet Daniel. He whoso reads, let him understand. Then those who are in Jerusalem, get out of Dodge immediately. If you're on top of the house, don't drop down and get a sleeping bag. Or if you're on the field, don't come back and get a jacket. Because then is going to come the time of tribulation such as the world has never seen. And except those days will be shortened, no flesh will be saved. Are you looking at me or are you looking at something else out there, people? Except those days be shortened, there would no flesh be saved. Woe to those that are with child, to those that give suck in those days. Pray that your flight's not on the winter, not on the Sabbath day, because that is when the great tribulation starts, when the abomination of desolation spoken by the prophet Daniel, when that transpires. Then, if any man says, look, there's a Messiah. He's in England. It's Lord Maitreya. Don't go. It's not him. Look, he is in, what was it say? In secret chambers. What does it say? In Greek, it's tamion. That he's coming in secret. Tamion, unseen, unnoticed. Nobody's going to see. Nobody's going to know he's come and gone. He says, anyone tells you that, don't believe them. For as the lightning shines from the east unto the west, and splits the sky open, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. And after the tribulation of those days, when does the tribulation start? When you see the abomination, desolation spoken by the prophet Daniel. Then, after the tribulation of those days, the sun is going to be darkened. The stars will be darkened. The moon will not give its light. And then he will send forth his angels with a shout, with the voice of the trumpet, and he shall gather his elect from the four winds of heaven. It's exactly what it says in the book of Revelation at the seventh trumpet. When the dead are raised, the righteous are raised and rewarded. And he will now destroy those destroyers of the earth. And then what ensues are the bowls, or the chapak, the bowls of God's wrath. We are saved from the wrath to come. We will not endure the wrath of the Almighty, but it doesn't say that we won't endure the wrath of Satan. Nearly 500,000 Christians will be executed this year, but just not in, well, hopefully not in America. But I mean, it happens every year, ladies and gentlemen. It just isn't happening here. We are not getting out of here in the middle of a 5-course Sunday brunch after church. We are going to be here. And this is the message from heaven. You want to know what these signs in heaven mean? Number one, hear me. Nobody is getting out of here. There is no pre-tribulation rapture. Thus saith Yahovah. And I would not say that unless I knew that that word comes directly from heaven and is my commission, and I must say it. And that's why they wouldn't let me on the Prophecy Club for 4 years, because they were still swallowing the pre-tribulation rapture until finally they woke up. And then they let me go on and teach the prophetic fulfillment of the Feast of the Lord, the great secret of Solomon's temple, and what Ron Wyatt started to lay out with the finding of the Ark of the Covenant is that the confirmation of the covenant spoken by the prophet Daniel is the revealing of the Ark of the Covenant and what happened at the crucifixion. 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 7 through 10. You who are now troubled will rest. Anison. The pain and strain of tribulation will be relieved You will rest with us when the Lord Yeshua was revealed from heaven with his mighty angels in flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not God and that obey not the gospel of our Lord Yeshua Messiah. Now we beseech you, brethren, concerning the coming of the Lord and our gathering together unto him, that you are not soon shaken in mind or troubled, neither by spirit, nor by a word or a letter from us, is that the day of Messiah is at hand. What is this day of Messiah? When he comes and relieves the pain and strain and tribulation that those believers at that time were enduring. Don't let anyone deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except first there come, apostasia, the rebellious stand. Apostasia is not apostasy. That's a transliteration. Apo, away from stasia, which is a stand in rebellion. Listen to me. That day of our gathering together is not going to transpire. Don't let anyone deceive you. Don't let, an angel came and told me. Hockey foddy. Nonsense. That day will not come except first there come the rebellious stand, and the man of sin is revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God, so that he as God sits in the temple of God, proclaiming that he is God. That must go down first. There is no getting out of here before that. Don't let any demon tell you otherwise. And I don't care what pulpit he stands in. Because I was a deceiver. I was a liar. I spoke presumptuously. I presumed that my denomination knew what was right, and I followed their party line, and I led people right straight to hell. I don't care if they're called the walking, talking Bible. I don't care what their credentials are. If they're preaching a pre-tribulation rapture, they are preaching a lie that was hatched in hell. Yeshua said, don't listen to those who say I'm coming back in secret. Don't listen to those who say I've already coming back. That's not what it's going to look like. I'll tell you what it's going to look like. It's like lightning ripping the sky open from the east to the west, and when I send my angels, nobody's going to miss it. You'd have to be deaf, dumb, and blind, and you're still not going to miss it.
Ambassadors of A Rood Awakening International have sponsored over 89 countries to take the gospel of the kingdom to the world.
I sat down beside a man that 1 year ago, he had been in a cult, he had been in the church, and he was searching. And he was on the church channel and saw A Rood Awakening. And it changed his life, and he's here because we were able to support that and have that available.
Now you can help us reach the world. With your gift of $100 per month or more, or your one-time gift of $1,200 or more, we can reach more countries.
I want people to wake up. That's why I'm supporting A Rood Awakening.
I just give with faith. I give in faith.
Through this ministry, through Michael, we get to be part of ministering to people and changing lives.
But if you're being fed somewhere, you need to support it. And if you're being fed by Michael Rood, you need to support it.
With your gift of $100 or more a month, Michael Rood would like to bless you with this token of his appreciation. Let this surprise be a reminder to you of the many lives that are changed because of ambassadors of A Rood Awakening International, like you.
Stand with us. Be a part of this ministry. Give so that we can get the gospel of the kingdom out around the world.
It's very important to get the word out there so that more people can come to the truth and realize how much they're missing.
We cannot outgive God.
You're really putting your money in the Ambassador Club to where it can really help maximum number of people.
And so this message has to go out to the world.
We need you to be involved. We need you to stand with us.
Call today with your gift of $100 per month or your one-time gift of $1,200 or more and become a member of the Ambassadors Club. Help us bring it to the world.
So, by revelation, a man came up to speak to me and said, you need to go see Henry Gruver. I went down, it went a 10-hour journey. There was one seat left in the building right in front of Henry Gruver when he told the detail about him being in Jerusalem when he met Ron Wyatt, and Ron was right there by that hotel and took him over to where the Ark of the Covenant dig had taken place. After that weekend, I spent a couple more days with Henry and Judith in traveling, and then I called Ron Wyatt up and I said, I need to come see you. And I could hear the voice on the other end, yeah, right. He didn't say it that way, but it was like, you know, well, do you have some specific question? I said, and I heard it. I said, Ron, I believe if you'll pray, the Lord will tell you whether I'm supposed to come down and see you or not. He said, call me back in 2 days. I called him back and he said, when you can be here. And I got down there, and that is when the rest of the pieces of the puzzle came together. Ladies and gentlemen, I would highly recommend, I would encourage you to watch the video. It's available on the internet. It's out there. You know, if you can't afford it, it's out there. It's on the internet or out there on the table. Michael Rood Exposed, The Confessions of a Cult Leader. You need to hear the real testimony of how the Almighty plugged all this together. See, when someone walks up to me and said, I've got a message from the Lord to you, I immediately think this person is nuts. Because I know how he deals with me, and I know the people that he's confirmed to be able to speak in my life. And I have nutcases all the time come up to me with a word from the Lord, and it's nothing but what they presumed in their mind. But when I see the hand of the Almighty lead in a very specific way, I know when he's speaking to me. And yes, heaven does speak. The Heavenly Father speaks, Yeshua speaks, by way of the Holy Spirit gives instructions to his people. And so what I'm telling you, you may think I sound arrogant or obnoxious or whatever. No, I am telling you the truth. What drives me is a revelation that I've been given at certain points in time that I can't back up on. I can't do anything else. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter how many people attack me or try to steal the ministry and take everything I got. I can't stop. And look what happens. Every time something great happens out of every attempted takeover. Unbelievable. 70 weeks, Daniel 9, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon the holy city to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision, authenticate the prophet, and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand, from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince, there will be 7 sevens and 62 sevens. The wall will be built again in the street or the plaza, even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the princes shall come, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and unto the end thereof shall be with the flood. And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. And he, the Messiah who is cut off but not for himself, he who anoints the most holy with his own blood and thereby makes reconciliation for iniquity. And he, the Messiah, shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 7. Oh, I know. Hal Lindsey wrote a book in the 60s, and you've got your brain frozen on the Antichrist making a land deal with Israel. He made it up, ladies and gentlemen. It's not even in the context of the book of Daniel. Who is the he? The prince that shall come is in a prepositional phrase, which is not in the direct line of the antecedent of the relative pronoun he. I'm sorry to do that so long after high school, but somebody had to tell you that. And he, the Messiah, who is cut off but not for himself, he who makes reconciliation for iniquity, it is he who confirms the covenant for 1/7. And ladies and gentlemen, until the Ark of the Covenant is revealed, that testimony which the Almighty put in the earth by revelation, he instructed Solomon to put a stone sarcophagus in Mount Moriah. Not under the Temple Mount, but under the place where Abraham built an altar for his son Isaac. And then Jeremiah, by revelation, read 2 Maccabees chapter 2, verses 2 and following, where Jeremiah, by revelation, hid the Ark of the Covenant in that stone sarcophagus. And then the chief rabbi of the land of Israel, the chief rabbi said the ark was not lost. It was deliberately hidden in Mount Moriah. I've been in the chamber. I've seen the ark. That's what the chief rabbi of Israel, Shlomo Goren, said before his death. No reason to lie. It is that testimony in the earth. The Spirit, the water, and the blood, these three agree. And if we have received the testimony of men and believed, the testimony that God gave of His Son is greater. And this testimony in the earth is the testimony that God gave of His Son. Ladies and gentlemen, when the Ark of the Covenant is revealed, then the world will see, and it's not the world, it's Israel, whose eyes have been blinded partially, but there's coming a time when the blindness in part will be removed. The end of the time of the Gentiles, and He will open the eyes of His people. And when they see the Ark of the Covenant and the Messiah's blood on the right hand of the throne, they will understand the shadow picture that was put in the earth, the testimony that God gave of His Son, and they are going to weep and wail as one weeps and wails for their only son. They will look on Him of whom they have pierced, because the testimony is in the earth, and they will understand. We understand now, but ladies and gentlemen, that is what starts the last 7. What else do we know? We're going to have to take a break.
You are so precious to the Almighty that He gave up His firstborn Son for you. By His sacrifice, you were redeemed. Right now, when you make a donation of $25 or more to a Rood Awakening International, Michael Rood will send you The Redemption of the Firstborn, a brand new DVD teaching you can't get anywhere else.
This is an opportunity for a father and a mother to recognize that their firstborn son does not belong to them, and that firstborn son belongs to the Almighty.
It's not for sale, and it's not on YouTube. It's a special teaching reserved just for you when you donate $25 or more to a Rood Awakening in July. Call today or visit our website to receive The Redemption of the Firstborn, a brand new exclusive teaching from Michael Rood.
The signs in the heavens are there. What are we being told? A lot of conjecture. The question is, what have we been told? Number one, there will be no pre-tribulation rapture. So we need to get a grip on reality. We were born for this time. Now, I've heard people say, well, you know, we're the bride of Messiah and He wouldn't put His bride through any... Wait, that's one figure of speech. We're warriors, we're boxers, we're fighters. You know, these are the other things that we are. We're ambassadors. You can't just pick one out because you like that and you can make up some story about how you're never going to go through anything bad. Oh, sorry, people. No, you're warriors. You're warriors. You were born for this. You are not going to back down. We stand on the shoulders of our forefathers who died to get a copy of this into the English language so that we could read it. We are not cowards. We are not going to hate and betray each other. Take a look at your neighbor. Say, I'm not going to betray you. I'm not going to hate you. I'll die for you. And kill anybody who tries to hurt you. All right. I'll strike that last one. I was just talking. Live now. What do these signs in the heavens tell us? Go for it now. You don't have next year. You don't have 2 years from now. Jim Brooks, he was the warrior. He was the one that was directing the Aviv Moon Intercessors group. And for years has stood with this ministry. Jim Brooks is with King David in the grave, waiting the return of the Messiah. Last Shabbat, he passed away. I would have loved to have Jim with us right to the end. His wife Brenda is going to keep on being strong. We have no idea how long we got, so you better live like you ain't got next year, because you may not have it. This whole thing could go up in a firestorm and you could be toast. So you better make this year count, because if you're rewarded for eternity for what you've already done, and that reality ought to scare all of us. It scares me. Chaim Goldman was there at the time in Jerusalem on the last great day of the Feast of Sukkot. Right after the World Trade Centers came down, I was in Israel, moved to Israel. Chaim and I built a sukkah. The last day, the last great day, was also a high Sabbath. I stayed up in my room and I received a revelation that I went downstairs, and to the men, the three men, Joshua Cohen, one guy is a lawyer. I still can't say his name because he's in hiding. He's covert in Israel. And Chaim Goldman. This guy's not covert anywhere. He's all over the television. Chaim, not a Dr. Goldman. They were there. I came down and I said, I'm going to do something. I'm going to read this to you. I want you to see if you see it. But I'm going to change the word woman to the word fire. And that's when the lawyer spoke up and said, you can't do that. What is it in Hebrew? I mean, he's got his Hebrew Bible right there. He could just read it. I said, no, I don't know what it is in Hebrew. Just listen to this. Ladies and gentlemen, just a few blocks from where these words were penned, Zechariah chapter 5, verse 1. Then I, Zechariah, turned and I lifted up my eyes and looked, and I beheld a flying Megillah, a scroll. And he, the angel, said, what do you see? And I said, I see a flying scroll. The length thereof is 20 cubits. The breadth thereof is 10 cubits, or the circumference of the thing. Is a line cast about is 10 cubits. Then I said, and I figured it out. You know, that morning I worked it all out. A cubit, 20.62 inches. This is a flying scroll in the sky, 34.5 feet long. It is 6.5 feet in diameter. And he said, this is a curse that goes over the face of the earth. For everyone that steals should be cut off on this side, and everyone that swears, and later we find out swearing falsely in the name of the Lord, shall be cut off on that side. And I will bring it forth, saith Yahovah Tzevaot. And it shall enter the house of the thief, and enter in the house of him that swears falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the house, and it shall consume the house with the timber and the stones. Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said, lift up your eyes and see what it is that goes forth, what it is that is flying in the sky. And I said, what is it? And he said, it's an ephah, which is a container. And how big is this container flying in the sky? It is 34.5 feet long, it's 6.5 feet in diameter, and what it does is it destroys entire buildings, including incinerating the wood and stone, and it remains, or it has a deadly residue that remains. And the angel says, okay, this is what they look like throughout all the earth. So whenever this thing comes about, this is what they look like all over the earth. And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead, and a woman that sits in the midst of the ephod. I said, and he said, this is wickedness, or it is evil. And he cast this evil woman in the midst of the container and put the lead lid on it. That's kind of what it says in English. But I worked this thing, and the translator, here it is, and I showed him. This is a flying container. It's 34.5 feet long, 6.5 feet in diameter, which is the dimensions of a modern-day Scud missile. It has an evil woman in it? No, it is an evil fire encased in lead that is sent to and will destroy all those who swear falsely in the name of the Lord and who steal my words one from another, as false prophets do, that is also spoken of in context here. Those who steal my words one from another, they are just blowing prophetic smoke up each other's skirts. They don't hear from me. They are not speaking my word. They are liars, and I'm going to send it forth, and I'm going to kill them. It's going to incinerate entire buildings, the wood and the stone. I said it's an evil fire. And right then, everyone's mouth dropped open, and David said, okay, we all see it. What is the word? He opened up his Hebrew Bible. There it was. Asha. Asha is fire. Isha is woman. What's the difference? The difference wasn't in Zechariah's scroll because there are no vowel pointings. 800 years later, the Masoretes put the dot for the vowel pointing of Isha because perhaps the rabbi didn't get along with his wife. She's an evil woman. Put her in a basket, put a lead lid on it, and send her flying through the sky. Because an evil fire offering encased in lead in a flying container 34.5 feet long, 6.5 feet in diameter, that is set up in the land of Shinar doesn't make any sense. Except the modern day Shinar is Syria, Iran, and Iraq. And what did we just get through blowing up last August? The Israeli Air Force came in and whacked a number. I mean, we could feel the house shake when they hit those scuds over in Syria. How long were those scuds? 34.5 feet long, 6.5 feet in diameter. What is in these things? It's one bad woman. Ladies and gentlemen, that was revelation that came from heaven. And for the first time in the history of the transmission of the Holy Writ, since the 4th century, it was translated correctly. Why? Not because I'm brilliant. It's because the Almighty gave me the vision, and I saw it is a thermonuclear warhead, which is an evil fire offering encased in lead in these missiles that are set up in the land of Shinar. So the question is, ladies and gentlemen, that came on the last great day. You know what we were doing that night when the sun went down? Our first meeting of Last Great Day Productions. The next day, we headed out to Gomorrah and filmed Sodom and Gomorrah because we know what's coming down the pike. And did we back off? No, this thing's coming down. We moved to Israel right after 9/11. From the frying pan into the fire, ladies and gentlemen. Now, so I ask, when is this going to happen? Well, here it is. You just continue on. You continue on. It says, the angel said, where are they taking the ephod? And he said to build it a house in the land of Shinar, and it shall be established there and set upon her own base. I mean, you use King James, it says base. You know, here's a military base with Scud missiles, and we got 60,000 of these things aimed at us. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, last year I was scheduled to fly back to America 2 days before Yom Teruah, the Day of Trumpets. And when everything started shaking down, I thought I could change my ticket. I've never seen a nuclear warhead go off. And if I get out of Israel now, I may never get to see one go off. And so I stayed. Because Syria had said if the U.S. attacks, they're going to launch these missiles against Israel. See, I don't want to be there to get nuked. I want to be there when the fulfillment of the prophecy in Joel takes place, when this army, invading army, which is like the Garden of Eden before them and behind them, it is a deserted wasteland, and where the stench of this army reaches heaven, when the Almighty fights for Israel, when Israel is brought to the brink of destruction and the Almighty fights for Israel and the Ark of the Covenant is revealed and the latter rain outpouring happens, which is in the same chapter of Joel, I want to be there. Now, if it happens this year when I'm over there, then you're not going to hear anything from me for a long time. You will not know if I'm alive or dead. I won't know if you're alive or dead, okay? You know, when the Koreans, I mean, all they have to do is do this, you know, this nuclear blast over America, and all of our computers and all of our communication is down. We will be in the Stone Age, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we're looking at. We are looking at a time of tribulation such as not been from the beginning of time, no, nor ever shall be. And except those days would be shortened, no flesh would be saved. Right now in the Ukraine, you saw it in the papers, Jews have to be registered. Right now, it's in your papers. They are registering Jews in the Ukraine. Ladies and gentlemen, this thing is coming down. The signs in the heaven is telling us we don't have any time left. But the revelation has already come from heaven. There will be thermonuclear war. And when does it tell us about it? Zechariah 6:1. Remember, there are no chapters and verses in Zechariah. There's not a period. There's not a colon. There's nothing there. And I turned, lifted up my eyes, and looked, and behold, there came out 4 chariots, which are war vehicles. A chariot is not an implement of commerce. It's a war vehicle that Israel's told don't have chariots. They didn't say you can't have a donkey cart. It says don't have war chariots. There came out 4 chariots out from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of brass. Brass is a man-made alloy. These are not natural geographic formations. These are 2 man-made mountains. And what happened the week previous? 2 planes went into the 2 highest man-made mountains, and when they came out down, the war chariots were sent out. To where? To the land of Shinar. Now, for the first time, now that the U.S. has gotten involved, now on the Iraqi flag for the first time in history, the Iraqi flag reads, Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater. The direct insult to the Almighty. See, that's the name of insult. Allahu Akbar. Yeah, Allah, the fictitious moon god, is greater than the God of Israel? Yeah, right. And then, what happened? What is our last word? What is the last word that I received from heaven? It was 2008, Yom Teruah. And I said, I am going to do Yom Teruah, which begins the night Ramadan ends, and I'm going to do it in the highest building in the one city with the highest Muslim population in America, Detroit, Michigan. I picked the highest building, Ramadan ends, Yom Teruah starts, and I pray. What am I to teach? And I hear a voice that says, Balaam. I have no question. I know I'm teaching Balaam. What am I going to teach about Balaam? I have no idea. So I open up the book of Numbers. Chapter 22, I'll give you the short story because I just have a few minutes left. Balak, who is the king of Moab, assembles all the nations around him because they're deathly afraid because Israel's coming in to take the land. They're not going to take Moab, remember that? They're not allowed to take Moab. That's for lost children, the Ammonites and the Moabites, but they need to go through their land. Balak assembles all of the nations around him and sends for Balaam, a prophet, to come and curse these people. And then Balaam says, I can't go. I prayed, the Lord is not going to let me go. And then some more emissaries come and said, here is a blank check. You fill it out. You just come and curse these people. So he goes and prays again in case the Almighty's changed his mind because it's a blank check. I mean, it's like 4 million, 10, whatever you want. And so he gets the word. If they come and call you, you can go with them. Balaam gets up early, saddles his ass before anyone gets up and is outside the window. Hello? Anybody in there? In other words, he is going because he's going for the bucks. On his way, on the way there, he's riding his faithful ass, which he's had all these years, and his ass then goes off the road, and he's just furious. And he gets out, and he's got his staff, and he beats his ass with his staff. And finally, you know, he gets back on his ass, goes down a little bit more. And then he goes in this narrow place, and his ass then crushes his foot against the rocks. His foot is bleeding. He's yelling and screaming, you stupid ass! And takes his rod and starts beating his ass with this again. Then he goes on down further. I'm just talking King James for all of you. I think all of our children should learn King James English. And so he goes on further, and this time his ass goes off the road, and then he gets like a 2x4 out and is beating his ass. And then the ass turns around and says, wait, in all the years that I've been your ass, have I ever done anything like this? And he said, no, but you've never talked to me like this either. And then his eyes are open, he sees an angel, and this angel has got a sword in his hand. He's like 13 feet tall, and he sees what the ass saw because an angel was sent to kill him. That's why the ass went off his way. And so he repents and said, okay, I won't go. And the angel says, no, you go, but you do exactly as you're told. He goes to Balak. Balak assembles all of the nations around him on a mountain peak. And he says, Balaam, look out over this people and curse them. Balaam says, build me 7 altars. And on these 7 altars, sacrifice 7 bulls and 7 rams. And so he does. Remember, on the peak of a mountain, it is a United Nations summit, literally. Curse these people so they don't take the land that I promised to Abraham by a covenant forever. And so Balaam, 7 altars, 7 bulls, 7 rams, sacrifices them, and then he blesses Israel. And then Balak is furious. He takes them to another mountaintop, another United Nations summit. And what does Balaam do by revelation? 7 altars, 7 bulls, 7 rams. He blesses Israel again. They get moral. And then Balak is furious again. He takes them up to his 3rd United Nations summit. 7 altars, 7, and this time Balaam prophesies the shout of a king is among them. We know who that king is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it speaks of. Balaam took up this parable because it's a parallel. A parable is something in the physical universe that is a relationship to something in the spiritual world, because without this parallel on the physical, we wouldn't understand the spiritual. Balaam gave this parable because here is reality now. You are not going to keep these people from taking the land. There is no curse that can come upon these people. But what do we have? 1993, Oslo, a 7-year plan by the United Nations, signed on the White House lawn with the United States acting as guarantor for the United Nations, in which at the end of 7 years, Jerusalem would be divided, Israel would be divided, the Pope would get a piece of the action for the promise of peace. What happened 7 years later? 6 months before, I said violence will erupt in Jerusalem before sundown, September 28th, annulling the covenant with death, the agreement with hell prophesied by Isaiah. What happened? It was done on the day. Ladies and gentlemen, you better listen to what I'm saying, because that revelation came from heaven, not from me. I'm not smart. Ask my mother. I could give you examples. I'm not going to. Now, 7 times, and this is the message I'm going to Yom Teruah with. I get to Detroit, the Detroit Free Press, the papers all over America. As soon as I get there, I check into the hotel, the paper comes in bold headlines that big. Stock market drops 777 points. 777. 3 times 7. 3 times the angel stopped Balaam. 3 times United Nations summits. 3 times 7 altars, 7 bulls, 7 rams. Oslo. 7 years later, Camp David. Another 7-year plan to divide Israel. What happened in 2007, 7 years later? Annapolis Peace Accord. 3 United Nations summits, 7 years apart. And what was the warning? The stock market, 777 points. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been told from heaven what is about to take place. This is an exciting time. I'm glad you're here for this very event, because the brimstone is about to hit the fan, and we get to be here for all the excitement. Wouldn't want to miss it. Amen? Amen. I'm going to pray. Yivarechecha Yehovah v'yishmerecha. Ya'ir Yehovah panav elecha v'chunecha. Yisa Yehovah panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom b'shem Yeshua HaMashiach Sar Shalom. Yehovah's blessing is upon you. Go in peace, go in strength. Take the gospel of the kingdom to the world. Amen. Good night.